Hey, I'm Kitt Adams.
And I'm old mate Nate.
And you're listening to The Late Show on IPL Radio. We're now joined by BAYAN Massoudi from Season 2 of Hunted Australia, which has just wrapped up on Channel 10. Thanks for being with us, BAYAN. How you doing, mate?
My pleasure, guys. Yes, I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show today.
No, absolutely. Really interesting. I was sort of following the season a bit, and it's just wrapped up, so it's great to sort of get a little bit of maybe behind-the-scenes information on what the experience was like for you.
Certainly.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll start with what made you want to be on Hunted in the first place, and what was the selection process like?
Yeah, okay. So I watched Season 1 of Hunted Australia, and I thought this is a really, really cool show. These hunters look very scary and mean and nasty and like very formidable, worthy opponents.
Yeah.
And I thought, how would I go against these guys? Would I have what it takes to go toe-to-toe with these cream of the crop, best of the best that Australia has to offer and come out victorious? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and have a crack and see how we go. So I whipped together a quick 10-minute application, threw it in, thinking that would be the last I would ever hear of it.
Right, yep.
And 10,000 applicants screened, and they came back to me and they said, we love you, we think you're great, we'd love to have you audition for the show.
Wow, 10,000 applicants.
10,000 applicants, yes.
Far out.
And so they picked me and they said, we think you're great, we want you to audition, go find yourself a teammate, and then let's bring you in as a pair.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Several auditions later, the team from WA was registered as formal competitors on Hunted Australia.
Of course, the representatives from WA.
Yes.
And is there much sort of training involved in it? Because it can get fairly physical if you get into a foot race with the hunters and stuff. Was there like a boot camp involved in it? Did they want to make sure you had a certain level of fitness? Or
So there wasn't any training or boot camp set by them.
Yep. But yourself? You put yourself a bit through?
We launched our own little tiny training boot camp for ourselves to prepare ourselves for the challenge that lied ahead.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so things like physical fitness and working out in the gym, studying and research and preparation, watching all the previous seasons of Hunted from the different Hunted franchises around the world.
Right.
Studying all the tools and tactics that the hunters use in their kit bag of goodies that they use to track us fugitives. And just, I guess, study and research and preparation, acquisition of equipment, studying of maps, preparation of strategies, all these kind of things we did ourselves. And we spent probably 3 or 4 months doing that.
How much did you get a choice in people you get paired up with in the show?
So people choose their own teammates. So you choose who you want to go with. You know, some people might choose a husband or a wife or brother or sister or a partner or a friend.
Yeah.
So I chose a friend of mine. So a friend of mine, we went in together as a pair. And because my wife, we have a 2-year-old son, and can't exactly just leave the toddler at home and have the two of us go on a reality TV show together. So
of course. Go out and play fugitive for a few weeks.
Right,
so.
Exactly.
I was going to ask, what's that like? You obviously have a young growing family, and you have to be away from them for potentially 3 weeks. Is it hard being away from them? Do you get any contact with your family while you're on the run? Or
yeah, so I was gone for a month. Yeah. So it was a full month of travel and filming and everything. It was hard. I can have contact with the family before and after filming has concluded.
Yeah.
I could, if I wanted to, reach out to family while I was on the hunt, but that wouldn't be a very tactically sound thing to do. So you're really exposing yourself to risk.
That actually goes into a question I had. Were you surprised by the capability of the hunters?
Yes. I studied everything that I had seen the hunters do in previous seasons of the show. So I thought I had a very, very good grasp of all the tools they have in their kit bag. But they still pulled out a couple of surprises that I didn't expect.
A couple of new tricks for Season 2.
Little roadblocks.
Yeah. Perhaps there was some things that may not have been seen on camera in previous seasons of the show.
Right.
So I wasn't prepared for those little sneaky tricks.
They've got to keep a little something up their sleeves.
Yeah,
So you find that they end up reusing tactics if they have new seasons, or
I think so. I mean,
I imagine there'll be some basic tactics that they would just deploy
There
in
is.
a lot of situations.
yeah, there's a standard playbook that they would use across, across all the seasons.
And when you're not applying to be a fugitive for shows like this, what are you doing in your normal day-to-day life?
Yeah, so I'm an electrical engineer and a project manager in the
Right.
engineering industry.
Yeah.
So that's the 9 to 5 corporate gig.
Yeah.
That pays the bills. But I do have a background in law enforcement and military and security as well. So those were kind of
I've
things
seen
I've
a
done
little
in the
bit
past.
about that in your bio, that you actually had about 7 years service in the military and also some protection of some high-profile celebrities, such
Yeah.
as Michael Jackson and Queen Elizabeth II in your time.
That is correct, yes. I did spend 7 years in the Australian Army,
Right.
trained as a platoon commander. That was very kind of helpful towards my time on the hunt. As well as that, spent quite a bit of time working for various branches of government law enforcement, including WA Police, Department of Corrective Services, Department of the Attorney General, Department of Justice.
Right.
So that was, I guess, good to give me a bit of exposure to the peripherals of policing and investigation.
Yeah.
And yes, I did spend quite a few years working in private security and personal protection.
Right.
As well for those clients that you
And
mentioned.
what did that sort of entail? Were you one of the guys in the suits that are just like sort of following them around, checking over the shoulder and stuff like that, and making sure there's no threats? Is it?
Yeah. So it varies on an event to event basis.
Yeah.
So yes, there would be instances where we would wear suits.
Yeah.
And other instances where we'd wear other, I guess, more comfortable and practical
Casual
clothing
clothes
as well.
to blend in and stuff like
Correct,
that.
yes.
Right,
It's a
but it
combination
was
of
sort of
both.
that very sort of close proximity sort of protection that sort of bodyguard style.
Yeah.
or-
So I was 2 meters away from Michael Jackson and
Right.
within arm's reach of Queen Elizabeth II. Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, in both circumstances.
And is there much of a process to sort of getting to that level of security detail?
There. Yes, there is.
Do you have to, do you get vetted by a lot of people? Is there many interviews involved to making sure that they want you protecting these high-profile assets?
I mean, both those individuals do have their own personal bodyguards that
Right.
stay with them the whole time.
Yeah.
So we would work as, I guess, kind of attachés to their personal protection.
Right.
So they would have their own people that travel with them around the world.
Yeah.
And we have to respect the boundaries of their personal bodyguards because we're not their personal bodyguards. So we're kind of more on the peripheral of that protection.
So is that like sort of when they would come to Australia for a tour
Correct.
or something?
Correct,
Right.
yes.
Yeah. You'd sort of pick up and just give them a little bit of backup when they're here.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah, right.
I didn't go inside Buckingham Palace to protect
Yeah,
the Queen.
yeah.
It was when they were visiting Perth. So both instances when Michael Jackson was here for a concert.
Yeah.
So we provided security from there, and also for Queen Elizabeth when she was attending the Commonwealth Heads of Government
Right.
a conference or convention here in Perth, Western Australia.
is that something that you could get back into, or is that more like once you've done that job, like if the King Charles was to come back into Australia, would you potentially get a call up to help in that, keep him safe?
Look, if the same companies that were contracted to do this, I guess, provision of security services last time were again contracted, then yes, they might reach out to me to step in.
You could almost see it like an old movie script where it's like they've got a high-profile asset and like, we're going to have to call Bayan out of retirement, you know?
Yeah, look, my security days are more or less over. I'm a family man now with a kid, so I don't do a lot of that anymore. But yeah, who's to say? You know, if those circumstances did kind of eventuate again, and I saw a high-profile asset that I thought would be cool to work with, I might pick up the phone and make a few phone calls and say, "Hey, I want to get onto that detail, and
Yeah, right.
strings could be pulled to make it happen.
Did you get to see the Michael Jackson concert?
I certainly did. Yeah, I was at the edge of the
Wow.
stage. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what, and paid to be there.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people pay big money to be there. You were actually one of the people that was
Absolutely.
paid to be there watching it.
Yeah, he had some big props on his stage. He had a life-size tank. He had a
Right.
life-size airplane, like one of these small airplanes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went and I sat in his tank, and
Oh, wow.
pushed the buttons and pulled the triggers and
That's
everything
awesome.
inside his tank on the stage, and climbed around in his aircraft and those kind of things. Yeah, absolutely.
That's some cool
I got
once
to
in a
play with
lifetime
all the
experiences.
props. I
Yeah,
actually
right.
had dinner with him in South Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about a year or so later. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we partied together in South Africa. Yeah.
Far out. What's it like to party with Michael Jackson?
It was a very interesting event, to be honest. It was actually quite coincidental. It wasn't planned at all. I was on holiday with my family in Johannesburg, and we decided that we would spend a weekend away at a resort called the Sun City Resort,
Yeah.
which is about 2 hours north of Johannesburg. So we drove out there, and as we pulled in, we saw this fancy stretch limo parked in the valet parking out the front, and we didn't bat an eyelid. We thought, okay, some VIPs
Someone's
here.
Yeah.
So we went and we were, playing around in one of the pools. They had like some water slides and things, and walking through some of the areas of the hotel, saw this big rush of people kind of like all heading in a certain direction. And we thought, there's a bit of a ruckus happening over here. I wonder what's happening. So we kind of like wandered down to have a look-see, and saw that, lo and behold, who's standing there but Michael Jackson.
Wow. Michael Jackson, unreal.
Yeah. So he was there with his bodyguards, and I sauntered over to one of them and tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, hey, I worked with the security detail for you guys when you came to Perth last year.
Right.
Would it be possible for me to get a little autograph for my nephew and make him happy? And he wandered over to Michael and whispered in his ear real quick, and Michael had a bit of a look-see in our direction and gave a bit of a nod. And then from then we wandered over, got an autograph from him, and he said, would you like to join us?
Unreal.
I said, yeah, absolutely, why not?
Wow.
So we spent the next 2 to 3 hours playing like arcade games and these kind of, the fun games you have at carnivals and like the Royal Show,
right. Yeah.
where you throw
Carnival
basketballs,
games, Sideshow Alley sort of thing.
Sideshow
Wow.
Alley kind of games. We played those for like 3 hours,
Wow.
and I beat Michael in most of the games that we played together.
Really? Oh, wow. That's cool.
And
Unreal, man.
After that finished, he said, "Hey, do you want to come join us for dinner?" I was like, "Absolutely, why not?" So sent the little cousin back to his parents.
Yeah.
Got changed into some nighttime attire and went and had dinner. They had booked out the whole restaurant and kicked everyone out.
Of course
had
they
the
would.
had the whole entire restaurant just for one table,
Wow.
and had about 20 people seated there, and Michael was sitting diagonally opposite from myself, literally less than a meter away, and had dinner with him and chit-chatted for an hour or two.
Wow.
After that, he was like, "Hey, do you want to come and party with us at the hotel nightclub? I can put your name on the list." I'm like, "Hey, sure, why not? Let's do it." So went and put the party outfit on, and then came back and partied with Michael, and the stars of Bold and Beautiful were there as well.
Oh, really?
Thorn and Ridge, and I don't know, some people who I don't know who they are, but apparently they're
Classic
stars
characters,
of Bold and Beautiful.
That thing's still running.
Swedish volleyball team was there too. And
Oh, really?
Some other rappers and people
Far
that I didn't know
out.
who they were, but apparently they were rich, famous
What was
Americans.
the name of this hotel again? I've got to go there, eh?
Sun City Resort.
Sun City
I've heard of that,
Resort.
yeah.
Wow.
It's a very fancy looking
Got some
place.
big names going there.
There are some big names there, yes.
Unreal. So you party with Michael in a nightclub and stuff. What does Michael drink? Or what? Sorry, did he drink? But
I think he just had soft drinks. I don't think he had anything. I don't recall him having
heavy.
anything more heavy
Yeah.
than that. Yeah, I think he just had like water and juice and softies and that kind of stuff. So
unreal. And does he engage in conversation much?
he
Or
does.
did
He does.
Yeah,
He was very, very soft spoken.
Yep.
Very, very soft spoken. And he almost had a very feminine voice. A very feminine voice.
I did hear online, you hear rumors and things. I did hear that he actually had a lot deeper voice and that was more of a persona that he would portray to the world through interviews and shows.
Look, I mean, I spent close to, gosh, 12 hours with a guy. There's no way he could put on a voice for 12 hours straight.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine he has a range in his octaves because he's a professional singer for so long. But yeah, I mean, I've always seen him to speak with a very soft, almost feminine voice, you know. And that's why even a lot of the parodies sort of mirror that when they do parodies of Michael Jackson. But back to Hunted. That's a really cool story, a really cool experience that you got. But just quickly back to Hunted. Before you sort of get released and you're over in Melbourne, first I want to ask, do you feel like you had a bit of a disadvantage there, being that some of the fugitives were from Melbourne and they get their home ground advantage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being from WA and not being familiar with the local geography of the state, there's that disadvantage. So,
was that part of your sort of boot camps and training before you...
Yeah, I mean, we did do some map preparations. Yeah. So we did, I guess, study the map of Victoria a little bit, study the map of Melbourne a little bit, studied the maps of different areas that we were planning to go to a little bit, the different towns that we were planning to visit. So we did do a bit of map study. It actually didn't turn out to be that much of a disadvantage that I would have thought it would have been. Yeah, so it wasn't that problematic. Yeah. But from a different perspective, it was a disadvantage because the local Victorians have a much bigger network of contacts and people that they know.
Yeah, of course.
So they might know hundreds of people in Victoria spread across the state.
Did you know anybody over there before you started?
We had small pockets of people. I mean, I probably have about 20 or so people that I know that live in the state of Victoria. So it's not a large group. Yeah. Having said that, I didn't want to use people that I was close with anyway. Right. I wanted to use people that are strangers.
Because the hunters would have gone straight to the people you had strong connections to.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I have some family, like cousins and aunties that live in Victoria, but if I went to stay at their house or borrow their car or ring their phone, that's just inviting the hunters to come and capture me.
They're going to be all over you.
Right. So you know that they're going to be closely monitored. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to go anywhere near those people in the first place.
Yeah. And just before the drop, when you all get sort of released in Melbourne, was it Federation Square? Something like that?
It was in Docklands. So we were released on a boat.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was
did you get to spend much time with the other fugitives?
No.
No? In the brief time that you were with them, did you get a feeling like, these guys are going to be good contenders or anything like that? Anybody that just seemed to sort of fit the bill?
Yeah, I mean, you can... I mean, we didn't get a chance to speak. Yeah. Obviously, you see each other on the boat just before your release, so you can really only make an assessment based on your visual perception of those individuals.
Right. Do you remember seeing any of the contestants that made it all the way?
Yeah, there were people that I looked at and I thought, I don't know if these guys are going to last very long. They don't look like the types that would be kind of successful in this. Yep. And there was others that I looked at and I thought, you know what, these guys look like they could be strong contenders.
Yeah, right.
I was surprised. Some of the people that I didn't think would make it far made it a lot further than I expected. Yep. And then there were other people that I thought would make it really far and they got caught very early. So, those visual assessments, you got to take it with a pinch of salt. You can't judge a book by its cover.
While you were on the run, did you keep up with what other people were doing? Was there a way to know if someone had been caught, or was it more so...
Absolutely not. There's no way for us to know what any other fugitive or hunter is doing.
You're not getting any information
You have no
at all.
idea what is going on anywhere else.
Yeah.
All we know is what we can see and in our immediate vicinity. That's all we know.
Yeah. And one question I did want to ask is about, obviously you were filmed the whole time and you wear the cameras on your chest to film everything, but you also have a cameraman that's with you to film when you're running and stuff like that. Yes. Do you find that a hindrance at all?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Yep. Yeah. All right. We'll keep that simple, I suppose. But yeah. And also...
Having said that, they do their best to be as inconspicuous as possible.
Yeah, right.
I'm choosing my words carefully here.
Like ninjas, they get ninja training before they start.
Yeah, I don't want to give away any of the magic of production. So they do try their best to be as inconspicuous as possible.
Yeah. I think it's all in the guidelines, though. That I mean, if you look up Hunted and you look at the guidelines and stuff, it shows it all in there. The sort of things that you have to do and what's expected from the fugitives and stuff. So that's all in there. There was some people saying during the show on some social media that sometimes when the hunters gained access to people's homes, it's sort of crossing the line a little bit. How do you feel about this?
My personal opinion is having hunters coming through your home and, tossing your underwear drawer and looking inside your freezer.
That was a very contentious point,
And looking through your personal diary and reading that. Yes, some might say it's quite invasive, an invasion of personal privacy.
Is that what they've sort of
agree?
Have signed up for, So...
my house is in WA, so it's a long way for them to travel.
Yeah,
so
maybe that was your advantage. Some people have the home ground advantage.
Exactly. So that was an
advantage
that they can't come and kind of ransack my house.
Yeah,
which is great.
I noticed a lot of them. They would sort of rock up to people's houses that the fugitives might have been staying at, and just said, "Oh, we need to have a quick look inside." I see a lot of people were very accommodating. They were just like, "Oh yeah, sure, come on through." Like, are they allowed to say no? I mean, yous were your final moments in Hunted. You were locked inside, and they had to basically wait for you to come out. Like, they didn't grant themselves access to the building you were in at the time. So, I think it was interesting that sort of people gave consent for them to come through. Obviously, you just locked the door and you were safe while you were inside. But other people would give consent so easily. Do they have the right to say no?
Again, I'm going to have to choose my words very carefully on how to answer that question.
That's all right. I completely understand.
There is a rule book that must be followed.
Yeah.
That rule book is different to what is legal in society. So the legalities of society don't apply in this quote-unquote game.
Yeah.
So the game has a certain set of rules that must be abided by. And that applies to fugitives, applies to hunters, applies to accomplices.
Yeah.
Everybody
It
falls
applies
under
to any games, really. They have different sets of rules, like AFL. You can go and tackle somebody that's got a ball. You just run up and tackle somebody in public, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble for it, So different games have different rules.
You play Monopoly, it's got a set of rules.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every game, you have to follow the set of rules of that game.
Yeah, no, completely understandable. Your final moments, is there anything you regret about, what was it that sort of gave you away in the end? Was it the trying to connect to the Wi-Fi at the phone box? Did that sort of give away your general location?
This is the question all of Australia wants to ask.
Right,
look, we did use a burner phone that was compromised.
Yep.
Now, that one was quite visibly shown on national TV. Everyone saw that.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. We did use a VPN on that phone to mask our location. We had no SIM card in the phone.
Right.
And we connected to a public Wi-Fi operated by the state of Victoria that we thought tens of thousands of other people are also connecting to Wi-Fi at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a needle in a haystack kind of scenario.
Right, trying to play the odds.
Our browser was in private mode as well.
Yeah.
So in incognito mode.
Yeah.
So that we thought we had multiple layers of protection in place. And all of this was shown on TV. So none of this is new information. It was all shown in the edit on TV.
Yeah.
But what we didn't know was that the phone itself was compromised and the IMEI number, which is the identification number of the phone, that could be tracked. We were under the impression that this could not be tracked.
Yeah.
Based on all of the Mission Impossible movies we had watched throughout our lives.
And all your training going back on Mission Impossible movies and stuff. Yeah.
So all of the Hollywood movies we'd watched since the dawn of time says that SIM cards can be tracked, but phones cannot.
Wow.
Right?
Phones can also be tracked,
But it turns out that the phones can be tracked. Now, so that placed the
brought them to your general location?
within our general location.
Yeah.
Now, what they did with that was they said, all right, we don't get very many options to actually find Bayan and Isha. This is a tiny breadcrumb. We have to throw everything we have at this because we may not get another chance to find these guys again. So they sent their entire army of ground hunter units.
Got all their resources to that area.
To canvass that area, just canvassing the streets, knocking on doors, stopping cars, interrogating randoms in the street to try and find us. And this street canvassing campaign of theirs had a very, very lucky moment, and that was
You left the unit or something?
I left the unit, yes.
Yep.
I was outside looking for a neighbor to borrow a mobile phone so I could make a phone call. And in that split second, I thought I saw a shadow running across the street. And I was like, what the hell was that? That looked like something that was kind of potentially concerning. I didn't know what it was. My curiosity got the better of me. I stuck my head out to have a quick sneak peek see to confirm what I thought I saw.
Yep.
In that moment, locked eyes with a hunter.
One of the hunters.
And then the rest was history.
He ran back into the unit.
Yeah.
Did you have any other option at the time? Because I was a little bit frustrated watching that. I was like, why did you go back into the unit, Bayan? But did you have any other options from where you were in that moment?
Look, the apartment complex was surrounded on all sides.
Yeah.
So there was two entrance gates.
Yep.
One entrance gate, I locked eyes with a hunter. The other entrance gate, which I ran towards, also had another hunter.
Right, yep. You're pretty locked in.
And so I was surrounded on both sides.
Yeah.
My only hope was to be able to sprint up to the apartment, close the door, and hope that they didn't see which apartment I went into.
Yeah.
That was the hope. Because obviously there's fences, and they have to scale the fences to get inside the apartment complex.
Right. So you thought you had enough of a delay that you might be able to get in.
Maybe I got about 15 seconds up my sleeve. If I can sprint fast before these guys see which apartment I get into and shut the door, then maybe I can hide inside the apartment. They won't know which one I got into, and there's a chance that we can get away.
Unreal. Unfortunately, it was not the case. When I seen you sort of trapped in that apartment with nowhere to go, my mind started thinking extremes, like sort of going through the ceiling and into another unit or going through the roof. And it sort of made me wonder what sort of safety is involved in this, because obviously I imagine they would say safety first. Do they, if it was a real fugitive hunt, you might do something extreme like go through the roof and then jump off the edge of the building. Obviously, being a game for a TV show, they're going to tell you to limit how much risk you take.
Like we discussed earlier, there's a rule book that has to be followed.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting, yeah.
And there's things we can do and things we can't do.
Yeah, so when people are getting frustrated, maybe thinking that you could have done something that was maybe a little bit more extreme, or maybe even some of the other fugitives, there is a certain level of danger that they would say, please don't cross this, obviously.
Yep. We have to follow the rule book.
Yeah, because people's safety would obviously be paramount.
Yes.
But yeah, that did unfortunately end your time on the run. How long did you last altogether on the run?
There was 4 days left in the run, so it's 21 days. Yeah, so we got day 17.
Far out, so close. And then for something like that, just a little bit of luck to bring you undone.
Yeah,
is unreal.
Yep.
So what's next for Bayan?
What's next? Look, it's been a great hunt. The story isn't over yet. I have quite a few projects in the pipeline that I'm excited to share with the viewers and the fans and the followers of the show. I am looking to do a few projects in the film and TV and radio space.
Yeah.
So it would be great to share that with your viewers and the audience online. We are going to be posting these on my personal Instagram, which is Bayan Massoudi on Instagram, BAYAN MASSOUDI.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to keep track of the projects in the pipeline, Bayan Massoudi on Instagram, please go and head over to Instagram, smash the follow button, and then we can share all of our projects with you in the future.
Ah, cool. Sounds like you've got a lot going on, and I look forward to staying updated with all that.
Thank you, but we're always looking for more opportunities. So if anyone out there has anything they wanted to throw some projects for feelers in our direction, film, TV, radio, anything of the sort, we're open to options. So please hit me up and let's have a conversation.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks heaps for your time, Bayan. Sorry that sort of hunt came to the end the way it did for you, but it was definitely exciting viewing. So, thanks for being here, and thanks for your time on the hunt for Hunted Australia Season 2.
Thank you to IPL Radio for having me on today. It was an absolute pleasure chatting to you blokes, and can't wait to see what the future holds.
Beautiful.
Sounds good.
Nice one, mate. We will wrap that up for now. And because this is not live, we can just say, cut!